On.
I want to turn to the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was allegedly killed inside the Saudi Arabian consulate in Turkey just over a week ago. President Trump told 60 Minutes that, quote, there will be severe punishment, unquote, if Saudi Arabia is found to have ordered the killing of Mr. Khashoggi. But he's not offered any specifics on what that would look like. What specifically should any punishment against Saudi Arabia look like?
Well, I'm glad he didn't offer any specifics, because that's something that should be thought through carefully. But there needs to be a strong response if, in fact, this proves to be true. If they lured this man into that consulate, they went medieval on him, and he was killed, and he was chopped up, and they sent a death crew down there to kill him and do all this, that'd be an outrage. Just because they're an ally in an important mission, which is containing Iranian expansion in the region, cannot allow us to overlook or walk away from that. It undermines our ability to stand for morality and human rights all over the world. How can we criticize Putin for killing journalists if we're prepared to allow an ally to do the same?
But what should be done?
Well, we've already asked for a Magnitsky investigation, which means individuals responsible for that decision would be sanctioned. Beyond that, there are other options that we can take. Like I said, that's something that needs to be thought through carefully, but it needs to be strong. It needs to be reciprocal, and meaning it needs to actually live up to the level of the outrage and the criminality, if in fact this is proven to be true. And like I said, so I'm glad the president didn't tie his hands in terms of exactly what we're going to do, but it needs to be very strong and meaningful. It can't be symbolic. It can't just be words.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says he's still planning to go to that economic summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, next week. Do you think the Trump administration should participate? And what do you think of the idea that President Trump says the incident will not derail any arms sales to Saudi Arabia?
Well, two separate topics. I don't think we should continue as business as usual until we know exactly what's happened here. Because what we do know is this. He walked into that consulate and he never came out. So the only two things that could have happened is he's alive and somehow still in there, or he's dead and the Saudis are the ones who did it. There's no other explanation for it. Because if there was video of him leaving, they would have shown it by now. As far as arms sales, I would not have said it the way the president said it. Arms sales are important not because of the money, but because it also provides leverage over their future behavior. You know, they'll need our spare parts, they'll need our training, and those are things we can use to influence their behavior. But I would not take cutting that off the table. Every option needs to be there in a response, because no matter how important they might be to our Iranian strategy, our ability to be a voice for human rights and to go after regimes like Assad, like Putin, like what China does, like what Maduro does in Venezuela, all of that, undermined and compromised if we are not willing to confront something as atrocious as what's allegedly happened here.
When you say it's not time for business as usual, I assume you're suggesting that Mnuchin should not go to the economic conference in Riyadh? Is that what that means?
I don't think he should go. I don't think any of our government officials should be going.